Some of you guys are very disappointing. You post really photos on your Instagrams. It's okay. I know. It's a hard time for all of us. Not only for you, but those who are viewing your photos. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm gonna help you get out of it. Today we're gonna be talking about editing your photos for free. I'll also go over the paid options on Lightroom Mobile. If you haven't already, go ahead and download the Lightroom Mobile App. Once you open the app, here's all your features down here at the bottom. And then everything, so masking and healing are two options that are only gonna come with the paid version. And I'm gonna go over some of that too after we edit with the free version. I'll go in and add some stuff with what the paid version will offer you. So getting straight into it, we're gonna go into our light. On this photo, we're gonna be going for kind of make sure your brightness is up all the way too. We're gonna go for a cinematic movie kind of look. Now, something iPhone or most phones in general do is they make your image too sharp. It kind of makes things like if you zoom in, everything is a little bit like too outlined. So we're gonna try to soften that to give it more of a cinematic look. So I usually like to bring my contrast down to just kind of see what I'm working with. Exposure and contrast. Bring my highlights down, my shadows up a little bit to kind of see exactly what we're working with here. Bring the whites down and the blacks up. And up here on the little right hand corner, you have curves. And what we're gonna do is what we call an S curve. Take this top side, bring that down, take the bottom, bring it up just a little bit. And then top corner, you bring the highlights up and the shadows down just a little bit. And then you can mess around with the midtones. Don't do anything crazy because it'll make it look funny. So we're just gonna go up just a hair. And as you can see, that's a little bit of an S shape, and that's why they call it an S curve. All right, next you can go back into here and play around with some stuff if you think it might need it. In this case, I think we're fairly good. I don't want to change a whole lot of anything else. I think it looks good as far as exposure. Now we're gonna go into color. It's the one on the right of light. As far as temperature, I'm gonna warm it up just a little bit and just play around with it until you kind of see something you like. So just a habit for me, I take my vibrance down and then I bring my saturation up about the same amount that I brought my vibrance down. I like the way it looks. I don't really know if it does anything. It might just be in my head, but that's something I've gotten into. It's a habit of mine. So I'm gonna keep doing it till the end of time. You can do the same thing if you want, you don't have to. After that, let's go into mix. Click on mix, and then here you can adjust the value of each color. So a lot of times I'll start from the right and go to the left. I don't need any of these pinks or purples. A lot of times there's not a whole lot of that in your image anyway, and if there is, it's because of chromatic aberration. We can get into that another time. So I usually take those down. On my blues, I bring more toward a teal look and I darken it. And then bring the saturation down just a hair. That way the blues are not popping out too much. And I apologize if my voice sounds funny. I just got over a cold, so just bear with me, and that's one of the reasons I haven't posted a whole lot lately. Okay, so after that light blue or your aqua blue, I bring that down. All right, so obviously we have a lot of greens going on in the image here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the greens and push it closer to a more yellow look. Bring the saturation down. And then I'll bring that luminance down too, just to darken it. And with the yellows, add it closer to an orange look. And bring the saturation up just a hair, and then luminance down. Now with the oranges, that's gonna be his skin tone, so you really have to be careful with skin tones because you can make it look like he just came back from the Bahamas and got a tan. So we don't necessarily want that because he's sitting out in the forest right now. So we're just gonna do kind of a soft look on the skin. I don't wanna do anything too crazy. You can brighten it just a little bit, just to bring out some of the features in his face. In the reds, you can kind of, let's see, we don't have a whole lot going on in the reds. Usually I'll bring my reds up to orange just a little bit. because it balances everything out. All right, so we're done there. Next, we're gonna go into the biggest thing that I think really makes an image stand out or give it that cinematic look is grading. So go into your grading wheels right here. The first one is your shadows. It'll say down here at the bottom left. Shadows are gonna be, we're gonna push that closer to like a bluish green or maybe a teal. I usually try to keep it somewhere right here, and then I dial it back just a little bit. And then this one is your midtones. It's everything that's not gonna be your shadows or your highlights. This is like one of the big things that gives it that cinematic look. I usually try to keep mine around an orangish, yellowish tone. I think that looks good right there. And then dial it back just a little bit. And then another thing that I think gives a really good cinematic look is the highlights. Put those toward a greenish, yellowish look, and then dial that way back, but just enough to be able to see it. And as you can see right there, there's the before and there's the after. So far, it's looking a whole lot better, in my opinion, than what comes straight out of camera. All right, so after grading, we're gonna go into effects. If one of the reasons that you're posting pics is probably because even if you are editing, you're taking your texture and your clarity way up and you think that's good. Like, look at that. What is that? So what we're gonna do the opposite of that. We're gonna take the texture down because iPhone likes to over texturize things. And then we're gonna pump the clarity up just a hair. And as you can see, that right there just takes away a lot of that glare, that over sharpening that the iPhone does automatically. Throw a little bit of dehaze in there, gets rid of any fuzziness, and then add just a slight vignette on it, and then go down at the bottom and feather that out. You don't want your vignette to be super noticeable unless you're going for like an older look. So I would suggest feather out your vignettes as much as possible. Next, go to grain, and you might be asking me, oh Vincent, why are we adding grain to our image? I thought we're trying to make it look clean. Well, believe it or not, grain actually gives you a cinematic look. It brings out detail in certain things without having to add the detail through clarity or texture. It's more of an organic way to add detail to your image. I'm not gonna mess with the roughness or size. Next, we're gonna go into detail. We'll sharpen it just a hair and then mask that out. Don't ask me why, we'll just mask it out. I can tell you that later. So that right there is kind of the image that we have for the free version. If you wanted to enhance your images just a little bit before you post them, something like that I think would take you a long way as far as giving you a better image quality. Now, we're gonna move into the paid version. I think the paid version is just $10 a month. Like I said, if you can't afford that, probably get a job. So we're gonna go into masking. Masking is kind of complex. What it does is it selects certain things, or you could select a certain area of the image and adjust that specifically. And like I said, this only comes with the paid option. So to start off, we're going to do a radial gradient, which is a circle. We're gonna select as much as possible. Go over here. So this right here is your opacity or your softness. Keep it as soft as possible, otherwise it's gonna look a little bit weird. All right, and then invert it. That's down there at the bottom. So we're selecting everything but him. And then we'll try to widen this out just a little bit. What we'll do is we're gonna take that exposure and bring it down just a hair. So that way we're bringing focus to our subject. All right, so we're gonna create another mask, hit the plus button, and now we're going to do a linear gradient from the bottom. We're gonna go up right there, make sure you soften it out just a little bit, bring it down. And then this plus and minus button right here, click on that and subtract from mask. What we're gonna do is we're going to subtract our subject. That takes him out of it. As you can see, his legs are no longer in that selection. So we can darken this foreground without having to darken his legs a whole lot. So we'll darken it just a little bit and then go into color. And we're going to warm it up just a little bit. That way that green in there still stays green. Then we're gonna add another mask, and we're gonna do the same thing from the opposite side. Remember to subtract your subject, and then bring that one down just a little bit. I also like to bring the shadows up just in case, just so we're not losing a whole lot of information. And possibly bring your blacks down just a little bit too. I may do that on the other one. That way we're building that separation from our subject and the rest of the image. All right, so the biggest thing that's gonna give you a really cinematic look, something that I've been in the habit of lately, is we see the sun coming through the trees here. Let's enhance that like dramatically. We're gonna make this look like it's coming straight out of a movie. So put that center right where the sun is at. We're going to subtract our mask, or subtract our subject. And then we're going to expose that sun. We don't want to overdo it, or we want to do it just enough to give it a little bit more life. Bring the shadows up. And a big thing is you're going to take your dehaze, and instead of dehazing it, you're going to add the haze. So go the opposite of dehaze. And as you can see, it gives it like a glowing, peaceful look, I don't know. And then clarity, go the opposite with clarity and texture, and it's gonna make it super buttery smooth. Then go into color, and then add some warmth to it. We'll do it just enough, we don't wanna overdo it. All right, and that right there looks all like, you can see your subject, you have this crazy cinematic look. And then let's go into select subject, which is gonna select just our subject. I'm not too worried about it selecting some of the rocks or anything behind him. I'm not too worried about that. And we're just gonna bring the exposure up just a little bit on him. And yes, I know, we'll probably bring some texture and a little bit of clarity in it too, just to make him stand out a little bit more. All right, and that's it. Here's our before, and then here's our after. As you can see, it really takes away that crazy iPhone enhancement and gives it more of a cinematic look. A lot of times now you wouldn't really be able to tell if this was taken with an iPhone or a DSLR, like a $5,000 DSLR. So it's just a little tip for you guys. You can do it through the free version. Like I said, all these extra masks and everything to give it that extra cinematic look is the paid version, but it's well worth it to get the paid version. I'm not sponsored or anything by any means to say that. This is just what I've been doing. If I'm on a road trip and I'm taking photos with my phone, I'm gonna throw them in here and edit them real quick before I post them. So everything you see is usually not straight out of camera that I post online. It's just a little tip that I think would help you guys advance a little bit closer to a little bit pro level photographer. Even if you aren't a photographer, it'll help you out and it'll help your Instagram accounts out too. All right, that's it. I hope you guys have seen the light at the end of the tunnel and can improve. Peace.